episode 150, 7 Steps for Making Changes That Last. Wouldn't it feel amazing to stop obsessing about everything you eat, to ditch dieting forever, and drop that extra weight in a sane and sustainable way? Well, you can do it, and I can't wait to show you how. I'm Sherry Broder, and welcome to the Weight Loss for Foodies podcast. Hey, welcome back. The weather here is so gorgeous. Maine in the summer, it's hard to beat. We get paid back for all those months of cold. And it's so nice. The people aren't getting sick and dying of COVID, and that we can get together with friends and family again. It's so really wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm excited to talk about our topic, which is 7 steps for making changes that last. But before I do that, I just wanted to quickly tell you about a great podcast that I think you might be interested in. It's called Wellness and Wanderlust, and it's a podcast that seeks to demystify wellness trends and share practical tips for creating a life you'll love. Every Thursday, a new episode comes out with incredible guests in the worlds of health and wellness, fitness, spirituality, business, and more. Popular episodes focus on self-care and mindfulness during the pandemic, navigating wellness through spirituality and meditation. Tune in on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So, 7 steps for making changes that last. You know, as a coach, I can give people some really great tools to use to change their habits and establish new ones that are healthier, but that isn't enough. You have to be willing to do the work because I can't do it for you. So, if you really want change, whether it's your eating habits, what kind of shape you're in, how you think, it's up to you to do the work. The problem is that so many people think they want to change, but they resist change. Some even say they hate change. Maybe you're one of those people. Well, it's actually human nature not to like change, but it's just not a very good happiness strategy because the only thing we know for sure is that change will come whether you want it to or not. It's pretty hard to be truly happy when you hate the inevitable, you know what I mean? Like when you hate something that's an integral part of life, which change is. So you might as well embrace it and use it, make the most of it. People who hate change are more likely to stay stuck in a place where they aren't really happy anyway. So beyond embracing it, how about initiating it so you can make your life even better? Isn't that a lot better than spending your time grousing about what isn't right? And wouldn't you rather get out of that trap and feel the freedom of being at the helm of your own life? I know change can be hard, and whenever I think of that line, I think of The Lion King, where Rafiki says that to Simba, "Yes, change can be hard." It's because changes require us to be determined and tenacious, and so many people simply go with what's familiar, no matter how much misery that may bring you. Now, if you fear change, it may be that you're trying to avoid temporary discomfort that really is required to move toward your long-term goals. Jenny Lee, in her new book, Spark Change, 108 Provocative Questions for Spiritual Evolution, has a great list of the basic requirements for change. And there's 1, recognize the need for it. 2, believe it's possible. And I'm going to go through these individually so you don't have to get them all down right now if you're taking notes by some chance. 3, you want it badly enough to do the work that's required. 4, be willing to move through any fear that arises. 5, ask for help if needed. 6, be patient and self-compassionate. And 7, surrender attachment to a specific outcome. I really couldn't sum it up better than that. It's a great book, by the way, especially if you're someone who journals, because they really are provocative questions and they really do get you thinking. I highly recommend it, and I don't get any money from book sales. I don't have an affiliate relationship or anything. But let's talk about some of these. So here's an example. Suppose you have a heart condition and your doctor tells you that your chances of reducing your risk of premature death would greatly improve if you lost at least 25 pounds. Now, that's an easy example because the need for it is pretty clear, which is the first thing on the list. Recognize the need for it. Now, I hope that that's not what your need is, but for many people, they want to lose weight for any number of reasons. When it's a matter of life and death, the motivation is pretty clear. That being said, I know people in those life and death circumstances who still can't motivate themselves, make the changes needed to their habits so they can avoid that fate. But really, so it's important to recognize the need for the change. So think about that. What is the need for the change? Why do you want to lose weight? What's the need for it? Do you get breathless when you're chasing your toddler around? There's just can be any number of reasons. The second item on the list is a big issue that I run into with people I work with, both in my Weight Loss for Foodies group and in Ditch the Diet Tribe, which is my free Facebook group. And if you haven't joined yet, you're missing out. And that is, they don't believe they can do it. They don't believe they can lose weight. And this belief is almost always based upon numerous past failures from trying to lose weight by dieting. Basically, if you've failed because you've dieted, I want to tell you that it's not your fault. You've just been using the wrong tool. Because diets just don't work very well, and they only produce permanent results 3 to 5% of the time. Permanent meaning the weight stays off for at least 2 years. So stop blaming yourself. And you must have some ray of hope, or you wouldn't be wasting your time listening to this podcast, right? So remember, diets have failed, not you. And start believing in yourself and that you can do it, because you can. This is a method that works when all those other methods don't, which they generally don't. Once you stop trying to lose weight using the latest fad diet and you're using the right tools, the Weight Loss for Foodies approach, you can lose weight. I know, because I dieted for, I think, 40 years or something before I figured this out. But first, you have to stop believing that you can't, or you'll just end up proving yourself right. That's kind of what we humans do. We like being right even when it's bad for us. Now, the third item on the list is wanting it badly enough to do the work required. And that also trips up a lot of people. Doesn't it seem like every woman you know wants to weigh less? And the problem is that many people think they want to weigh less, but most don't want to enough to do the work. And I blame diet culture for making so many of us think that we need to lose weight, or that we should lose weight, or that we should all look like Jada Pinkett Smith or Jennifer Aniston. It drives me nuts when I see magazines that say, want a body like J-Lo? Do this workout. Yeah, right. I'd need to do a lot more than a workout for my body to look like hers. But that's not, I don't care about that. I just want to be healthy. Sadly, not that I'd mind having that body, but I don't want to go under the knife and do all the stuff that she has to do to keep her body like that. Sadly, our messed up culture makes it super difficult for actresses and other performing artists to get work if their bodies and their faces don't look a certain way. But then there's Lizzo, so there's hope. But anyway, you do not have to buy into our messed up culture. Think about it. Do you really want to lose weight, or do you just think that you should for some reason that, our fat phobia? I mean, there's lots of those kinds of reasons, but that's letting everybody else control you. It's fine if you don't want to lose weight. But if you really do, you have to want it badly enough to make it a top priority and do the work required to change your habits to have lasting change. If you wonder whether it's worth the effort, you probably won't succeed. So, as I've said many times, really know why you want to lose the weight, because that's essential to being successful. Now, this seems like a good place to take a quick break to thank our sponsor, BetterHelp. I'm a coach, not a psychologist or therapist. So if there's something preventing you from achieving your goals that you want to explore with a licensed therapist, check out BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs, match you with your own licensed professional therapist. It's professional counseling done securely online. Get started today at BetterHelp, and that's one word, betterhelp.com/Shari, SHARI, and receive a 10% discount off your first month. So getting back to the steps, we're up to number 4. And the fourth item is to be willing to move through any fear that arises. When you know you need to change something, but you haven't, think about whether there's any underlying fears you might not even be aware of. Is there something you're afraid of that you think might happen, subconsciously even, if you had a trimmer body? Like the attention you might get. It's not unusual for women who want to lose weight to actually be afraid to lose their protective covering. And this is especially true of victims of sexual assault. Maybe you fear how it might affect your marriage or your dating life. Think about whether you think there's some benefit in staying where you are that you really haven't considered front and center. So the fifth thing is to ask for help if needed. I definitely needed help and guidance, and I got it from a couple of coaches. I knew what to do. I'd known it for a while even, but somehow doing it evaded me until I had help. Can you relate to that? I have seen some amazing people in Ditch the Diet Tribe have great success doing it mostly on their own. They basically listen to these podcasts and they implement the Weight Loss for Foodies approach. And I love hearing from people when they tell me how much weight they've lost, how great it feels not to be a prisoner of diet culture, to have the freedom to eat what they love and lose weight, and just not to have to deal with diets anymore. But not everyone can do it that way. As I said, I was one of those people who couldn't. So to ask for help, go no further than to sign up for my Weight Loss for Foodies group coaching program. You can learn more and sign up on my website, sharibroder.com, by clicking the header that says, Work with Me, at the top of the page. Now, the next thing, which is more important than you may realize, this is number 6, is to be patient and compassionate with yourself. It took you a while to gain the weight, and it's going to take a while to lose it. And fast weight loss just doesn't stand the test of time. So be patient. Think of where you'll be in 6 months or this time next year. I mean, it took me 2 years to lose 46 pounds. But once I established new habits, it got easy and I wasn't in a hurry. I just lived my life. I ate what I wanted. For the first time in my life, I actually ate what I wanted and lost weight. And I ate when I was hungry only. That's one of the important things. But the weight came off. And it stayed off, which is most important because what's the point of going to all the trouble and then just gaining all the weight back? And it's so unhealthy to do that. Now, the self-compassionate part is super important too. If you are critical of your body, or of your efforts, you're setting yourself up for failure. So notice all of that negative self-talk and start replacing those thoughts with compassionate, self-affirming ones. So, for example, if every time you mess up, you get mad at yourself and your inner mean girl starts bad-mouthing you, it's more likely that you're going to give up when you really need to keep going. Because the fact is, no one does this perfectly. The important thing is to get back on track when you mess up and not quit, which is probably what you did when you were dieting. I know I used to look for any excuse to quit the diet. Don't expect perfection. See what you can learn from your mistakes. Did you eat too much in that restaurant? Well, that's okay. Just figure out how you're going to avoid making the same mistake next time. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend. You wouldn't say, "You idiot, I can't believe you ate that whole order of buffalo wings." More likely, you'd say, "It's not a big deal. Maybe next time just order a smaller order or split it with someone or just take the leftovers home." The last thing to remember, and this number 7, is to surrender attachment to a specific outcome. If you're 50 years old now, don't expect your body to look the way it did when you were 20, before you had those 2 kids. Avoid thinking in terms of a goal weight and instead focus on changing your eating habits, because that's what's going to bring you results. That's what's going to allow you to eat what you love without even wanting to overeat and still lose weight. That's what's going to help you feel that amazing freedom of not obsessing about every food choice, every bite you eat, and just listening to your body. Now, right now, you probably don't really know what the right weight might be for you at this point in your life. So let your body decide. Feed it only when it's hungry, stop when you're lightly full, and see what happens. Focus on what really makes you happy, because if you aren't happy now, it's not because you aren't at your goal weight. And you won't be happy when you're lighter. Yeah, sure, losing weight can feel great, but I'm guessing your weight is not the only thing in your life that's causing you some distress. But do expect discomfort. Change often can feel uncomfortable for the reasons I talked about earlier in this episode, because we like what's familiar, even when it's bad for us. And remember, no one but you can make these changes. I can teach you how, but you still need to commit to yourself to do the work. So just get started, even with one change. It makes a difference. I hope you find this helpful and that you start implementing those changes. You can get all kinds of free resources on my website and in Ditch the Diet Tribe. And that I will see you back next week, virtually. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe for regular motivation and inspiration. And head over to my website, sherrybroder.com, to grab the free resources I've created to help you practice what you're learning on the podcast. I really appreciate your help spreading the word by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. See you next time.